Part 38. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 387. After all, this extremely unpleasant time for Hyuka passed. Kamigawa completed the construction of the starport logistics base in a short period of time and put it into use, and began to collect resources nearby to maintain daily consumption. As Kamigawa's logistics work gradually improved, the battle against the Titans was quickly put on the agenda. After careful discussion and negotiation, Kamigawa and Angel finally decided to start their attack from the southeast star region of the Titan Kingdom, because this star region was the area where Angel had fought with the Titan God clan before, and they were relatively familiar with that galaxy. It took several days for Angel and Kamigawa to complete all the preparations required before the war. All the serving Angel warriors participating in the war boarded the Skyblade, and the weapons were all the latest generation equipment. Currently, Angel war supplies are extremely sufficient. Compared to the Angels, the movements of Kamigawa are much greater, because the Kamigawa civilization is a multi-civilization alliance, so the command system is relatively complicated. Fortunately, as the god of war in Kamigawa, Texas's prestige was enough to calm the fleet captains of various civilizations under his command and allow the huge fleet to operate. After the operation began, the combined fleets of Angel and Kamigawa set off toward the southeastern starfield of Titan Kingdom in a mighty manner. The journey was smooth and they encountered no resistance at all. The Titan fleets that were originally cruising in the starfield also disappeared. Seeing such a strange situation, Binghua had two guesses in his mind. The first was that the Titans were deceitful, and they might be hiding in the dark to ambush their large fleet. The second possibility is that the opponent knows that he and others are coming with a large amount of military power, knows that the opponent will not retreat early, and retains his own effective strength. No matter which one it is not good news. After discussing with Texas, the warrior with the word God of War in his title explained his thoughts. Miss Binghua, we should keep moving forward. The opponent is obviously afraid of us. As long as we continue to attack, we are likely to encounter the Titan fleet. And even if we can't hit them, with such a big target like us running around in the Titan's lair, I don't believe they can hold back from jumping out. When the time comes, we'll just be waiting for work. Compared to Texas' offensive words, Binghua's opinions were much calmer. Now the enemy is in the dark and we are in the light. We don't know what the Titan's goal is, so we have to be careful. We will wait until we understand the situation in this starfield before deciding whether to move forward, so as to minimize the risk. Liang Bing, who was listening in, had no intention of interfering at all, and acted as if the matter had nothing to do with him. In the end, Binghua and Texas compromised and the fleet continued to move forward, but they would send out reconnaissance warships to explore the situation ahead. Following the report from the forward reconnaissance warship, the stopped huge fleet group began to move forward again, but it was obviously much more cautious, because the current situation confused Binghua and Texas. However, confusion is still confusion, and this is not enough to dispel the idea of continuing to move forward. However, both the Skyblade and the Kamigawa warships are quietly adjusting their formations during the voyage to prevent encounters that may come at any time. Miss Binghua, I wonder if Her Majesty the Queen of Angels participated in this operation. While still communicating on the line, Texas suddenly asked, and the reason for this question was because from the time of departure to now, Texas and other Kamigawa parties were not in the communication on the line. Hear the voice of the Queen of Angels. Queen Kesha did not participate in this combat operation. As the Holy Left Wing, I also serve as the military commander of the Angels. I am fully responsible for this operation, so Texas, you don't have to worry about the situation on our Angel side. The meaning of Binghua's words is obvious. The Queen of Angels is not in the fleet now. She is the supreme commander of this battle. If you have any requests, you can make them to her. She is fully capable of making the decision. Miss Binghua, I won't talk nonsense. I've heard for a long time that Angel's individual reconnaissance capabilities are very good, and that relying solely on warships to conduct crude reconnaissance may miss some information. So I hope that Angel can send out a reconnaissance unit to check the stars ahead. Is there any ambush from the Titans in the domain? If we are not there, we will speed up and reach the galaxies around Titan's home star as soon as possible, forcing the other party to engage in a head-on battle with us. I personally don't like the current cautious and passive navigation. Binghua thought for a moment and thought it was feasible, then nodded and replied, I don't like being passive either, I will arrange it later. Temporarily cutting off contact with Texas, Binghua looked at Liang Bing, who seemed a little idle in the hall, and said, Liang Bing, you have something to do. Liang Bing perked up after hearing this and looked a little excited. He quickly asked, What's the matter? What do you need me to do? The most unbearable thing for Liang Bing, who has a lively personality, is just sitting there, waiting for unknown orders without any news. But it's okay now. Binghua finally has a task to give her, so she can take advantage of this opportunity to stretch her body. Liang Bing readily agreed to Binghua's order, and soon Kamigawa's fleet captain discovered that the angels were releasing angel warriors into the void. As soon as these angel warriors left the Skyblade, they burst out at great speed, flew out of the fleet, and soon disappeared into the universe. On the outskirts of the Titan Kingdom, the cosmic starport base established by the new Kamigawa civilization. Because most of the military forces left the starport with Texas and participated in this operation against the Titans, the port where ships were densely populated in the past, it was extremely empty at the moment. But suddenly several huge beams of light shot out from the depths of the starry sky and bombarded the part of the cosmic starport that was not protected by the shell armor. In an instant, several fire clouds rose above the starport. Open the defense facilities quickly. Chaos and shouting were intertwined. The panicked logistics personnel and the soldiers rushing towards the defense facilities became the main theme of the starport now. The ferocious jet-black giant fleet slowly approached Kamigawa's cosmic starport from the depths of the starry sky, continuously emitting thick beams of light along the way. The Kamigawa people reacted very quickly and opened the starport's defense facilities before the next wave of attacks arrived, resisting the subsequent bombing. News of the attack on the rear quickly reached the joint fleet currently located in the southeastern starfield of the Titan Kingdom through special lines. Texas slapped his command table angrily and yelled a few curse words into the air. After receiving the news, Binghua raised her eyebrows slightly, and her originally tense mood relaxed a little, because the Titans finally showed their fangs, and she could finally start the attack with confidence and boldness. As for the attack on the rear, Binghua was not worried, because Kesha and her high-level Angel battle group were stationed at the rear. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 388. Brilliant fire lights continued to emerge on the surface of Kamigawa's cosmic starport, causing waves of flying metal fragments. The originally smooth and brand new appearance turned into pits in just a few moments. The top person in charge of the universe starport is the Thunderblade Star, who is under the Kamigawa banner and has relatively strong military strength. Facing the incoming powerful enemy, his response method is very simple, that is, fight back. On one side is the Kamigawa space starport, whose volume is measured in kilometers, and on the other side is the Titan cruise fleet, which has huge battleships and is famous for its firepower and defense. It stands to reason that with the defensive capabilities and firepower of both sides, this should be a very fierce offensive and defensive battle, but the real situation is one-sided. The cosmic starport established in a short period of time adopts a large number of modular construction methods, with a special alloy skeleton in the middle as a supporting structure. It may not be visible at ordinary times, but now the drawbacks of this construction model have been exposed. Most areas of the cosmic starport cannot withstand the artillery fire from the Titan fleet. Each cannon is a hole. Only the armor and energy shields in some special areas can barely withstand the powerful artillery fire from the Titans. The commander of the Titan fleet was very excited when he saw this, and ordered to increase the intensity of the attack. The Titan fleet, which was originally only a long-range bombardment, began to press forward against the counter-attack firepower of the Kamigawa Universe starport. But a few minutes later, the Titan fleet commander was so regretful that his intestines turned blue. He wished he could travel back in time and space and slap himself hard to wake himself up. Just as the Titan fleet rushed forward with Kamigawa's firepower, and excitedly bombarded Kamigawa's starport, a huge space wormhole suddenly opened behind them, and the next moment, one ship after another Yuyiran's powerful Skyblade battleship flew out from it. Binghua has been dealing with beast body civilization for so long, and has already figured out the conventional war mode of beast body civilization. Unlike Angel's former enemy, the male angel, the Eternal Ascended One, the fighting style of the beast civilization is relatively simple and crude. If you can beat you, you will be hit from the front. If you can't beat you, you will find the soft persimmons around or behind you. Unlike gods, the wars between river civilizations are so tortuous. During this operation deep into the star domain of the Titan Kingdom, Binghua did not make a request for Kesha's companions to increase their combat power, because Angel and Kamigawa needed a strong enough warrior to guard the rear, just in case. If there is chaos behind Angel and Kamigawa, Angel will be fine, as long as there is no chaos in Angel Nebula. But Kamigawa is different. As a joint force of multiple civilizations, and with the large number of interstellar infantry and logistics personnel coming this time, if the supply line in the rear is cut off, Kamigawa's troops are likely to collapse completely in a short period of time. As the commander of Kamigawa, Texas is naturally aware of this. The defense of the starport has always been a top priority in his heart. Before deciding to carry out this operation, Texas reached an agreement with Angel. It was agreed that when the newly established starport in Kamigawa was attacked, Angels were obliged to come to the scene to provide support. As for the price Kamigawa paid for this, Hiawa had no interest in knowing. With the deployment of the Skyblade warships, the Titan fleet fell into a situation where it was attacked from both sides. The subsequent war process was very simple. With the cooperation of Kamigawa and Angel, most of the incoming enemies were successfully kept behind. With Kesha, the owner of the second-generation divine body of the Angel civilization, the King of Angels sitting in the rear, any attack on the rear of the Angels and Kamigawa without overwhelming strength would just be to deliver food. At the same time that the cosmic starport was attacked, the combined fleet located in the southeastern starfield of Titan also encountered trouble. The reconnaissance Angel discovered the silent Titan fleet in the front starfield, and now has started the engine and rushed towards the united fleet. The two sides had an encounter in a starfield, but the winner was quickly determined. The Titan fleet was completely wiped out, and the combined fleet suffered minimal losses. Almost as soon as the battle ended, Binghua and Texas received news that the cosmic starport was attacked. Fortunately, Angel's support was relatively timely, and the starport suffered little damage and could continue to function. Binghua stared at the picture played back on the projection. The fleet in the picture was not large in size. The Titan battleships rushed towards the coalition regardless of the disparity in strength between the enemy and ourselves. Based on the news of the attack on the Shenhe starport, a guess gradually emerged in his mind. The Titans must be secretly planning to destroy Kamigawa's logistics base and slow down Kamigawa's attack. Therefore, a fleet was sent to Dai to attract the attention of the combined fleet. The other team took the opportunity to attack the cosmic starport. However, due to the existence of Kesha, the Titan Protoss combat goal was undoubtedly unsuccessful. This gave Binghua a trace of doubt in her heart. In her impression, the Titan clan was a very powerful beast body civilization. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was the leader of the beast body civilization. But now the other side is playing a trick. This is usually a privilege that only the weak will use. Logically speaking, with the strength of the Titans, they should have jumped out to fight the coalition forces long ago. In the battle between the Angels and the Titan cruise fleet some time ago, although the Angels did not suffer a loss, they did not gain any advantage either. Therefore, the Titans have always given Binghua a strong impression, and they like to use their combat power advantage to crush their enemies head-on. But now Binghua's intuition told her that the Titans seemed to be afraid and began to retreat, as if they did not dare to fight the coalition forces head-on. Thinking of this, an immature guess slowly emerged in Binghua's heart. It was that the Titan clan was not as powerful as he thought. Due to the pressure of the Angels and Kamigawa uniting, he had to make the decision to steal the family. The behavior of Binghua did not say this speculation out loud, because the combined fleet would use facts to prove this point. Since the Titan sneak attack on the Kamigawa Universe starport failed, there has been no other action. The joint fleet's voyage after the Titan Kingdom has been smooth sailing without encountering any resistance. It wasn't until they entered the starfield in the north-central part of Titan Kingdom that Angel and Kamigawa saw the fully organized Titan fleet again. More than 100 giant black warships were arranged neatly in the starry sky, like soldiers waiting for them. Looking at the number, Binghua even suspected that the Titans had gathered all their cruise fleets. As soon as the combined fleet entered their attack range, the Titan fleet launched an attack directly. No pre-war announcement was issued by either side, and they fought to death as soon as they came up. As the military commander of the Angel side, Binghua decisively issued the order to attack. The Skyblade propped up the shield and used its enhanced firepower to mercilessly rain down its judgment on the Titan battleship on the opposite side. As a friendly force, Kamigawa did not hold back. The dense firepower network formed by its large number of warships, even the Titan warship with the Starry Sky mobile fortress, was a bit unable to withstand it. The thick armor was forcibly blown up in the non-stop bombing. The Titan warriors inside were suffocated and died in the bombing of the battleship before they could rush to the enemy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 390. Although Kamigawa and Angel had a huge military advantage, under the desperate attack of the Titan fleet, they were eventually rushed into the fleet. The original battleship bombardment immediately turned into a close-range melee. Because the surrounding friendly forces were relatively dense, the second-generation Skyblade could only temporarily stop the attack and rely on the light spears on the hull to provide fire support to the friendly forces. One by one, Titan warriors rushed out from inside the Titan battleship they were on and jumped onto the battleships in the surrounding Kamigawa. The huge size gives the Titan warriors super destructive power. Just by waving their weapons at will, they can cause huge damage to warships hundreds of meters long under their feet. Facing the Titans that landed on friendly warships, Kamigawa's fleet could only bombard them with secondary guns. After finding the right angle, one hit of the warship's main guns could kill a Titan warrior. Texas held the tomahawk with great force, knocking aside a giant soldier that was smashed above his head, and then rushed forward in large strides. When he was still dozens of meters away from a Titan warrior, he jumped up and killed the Titan warrior in his hand. The god's battle axe struck hard at the armor on the Titan warrior's chest. The next moment, the giant Titan warrior who was constantly destroying the surface facilities of the battleship leaned back, a large amount of blood spurted out from his chest, and finally fell to the space battleship with a roar. A few seconds later, Texas, covered in blood, crawled out of the Titan warrior's chest with a big hole, and cursed to shake off the sticky blood stained on his body. The size difference made Texas, the god of war in Kamigawa, who had a relatively simple attack method, feel very uncomfortable. Every time a Titan was killed, he would be left in a mess. Thinking of this, Texas couldn't help but glanced a little further away. Battlefield. The figure of the light of Kamigawa is extremely dazzling, and its attack methods are shocking and gorgeous. In the blazing white light that shines from time to time, the warriors of the Titan Protoss either turn into fly ash, or their bodies are charred and fall on the battleship, becoming a symbol of the universe. Part of the garbage. The performance of the other three war gods of Kamigawa was not bad either. As the Spear of Kamigawa, Niushue performed a little weakly in the battle with the Titan Lord. But at this time, she was the god of death, reaping the lives of enemies on the battlefield. In her hands, after entering the sniper mode at dawn, every beam fired can kill a high-ranking Titan on the spot. One of the remaining two war gods is Linyuan, the Fist of the Divine River, and the other is Emperor Lion, the Sun war god who replaced Lamur, the Bow of the Sky. As a member of the royal family of the Kamigawa Tiandeo people and the bearer of the genetic engineering of the god of war, De Lion's combat ability is much stronger than that of Lamur. Unlike Texas, who is the god of war in Kamigawa, De Liang, as the god of sun, has a super gene that is more functional than the pure combat model of god of war in Kamigawa, which enhances the efficiency of driving and controlling energy. The external manifestation is that it can convert dark energy into heat energy, heating the surrounding materials from the microscopic level, forming terrifying ultra-high temperature energy radiation and thermal energy waves to kill the enemy. He wears an ancient-style full-body armor and holds a red-poled golden blade halberd. As long as the Titan warrior is approached by De Lion and injured by the halberd in his hand, it will not be as simple as a wound. The burst of compressed heat energy is as powerful as a special weapon, a melt bomb, and can melt the armor and flesh near the Titan warrior's wound into a paste-like high-heat liquid on the spot. While Kamigawa was fighting fiercely with the Titan soldiers and the upper Titans, the Angel side released the Angel warriors on the Sky Blade. As soon as the Angel warriors who had been trained to fight against the Titans entered the battlefield, they exploded with staggering combat effectiveness. With the tacit cooperation of the Angel warriors, the Titan warriors could not take advantage of their huge size and strength, and it was difficult for the giant weapons in their hands to attack the Angel warriors who had wings and were extremely flexible in the universe. But with the cooperation of each other, the Angel warriors could easily destroy the huge Titan warriors. As one of the most powerful combatants, Binghua did not rush into the battlefield with the large army. His pair of black eyes kept scanning the battlefield, looking for targets that were enough for him to take action. Compared to Binghua, the holy left-winger and the angel with many auras, Liang Bing is undoubtedly much more relaxed. As one of the few warriors who stands at the top among the angels, Liang Bing can walk sideways on the battlefield as long as he does not encounter an existence at the level of the Titan Lord God. A space wormhole appeared around a high-ranking Titan who was wreaking havoc on the battleships at his feet, and then black chains were like poisonous snakes, tightly binding the Titan warrior in place with just one breath. The corners of Liang Bing's mouth curled up slightly, and he stretched out his palm to give it a firm squeeze. Try the new features of this Queen's weapon. A weak black energy suddenly surged out of the black chain that bound the upper Titan, and began to quickly erode the golden armor on the Titan's body. Within a moment, the armor on the Titan was eroded into pieces by Liang Bing's chains, and then the chains began to continue to erode the Titan's body. Visible blackness spread on the Titan's chained skin, and then disintegrated like sand. Looking at this scene, the corners of Liang Bing's originally raised mouth twitched slightly. The effect of this new weapon seemed a bit too cruel, but she liked it. With the activation of the Super Soldier, the Angel King, and the God of War Kamigawa, the damage caused by the Titan fleet has been reduced to a degree visible to the naked eye. A few hours later, as a sword of fire made of orange-red energy penetrated the body of the last Titan mothership, the Titan mothership, which was already riddled with holes, finally could no longer hold up, and with a roar, it is part of the countless garbage debris in this starry sky. This massive encounter ended with the victory of Kamigawa and Angel. Not a single battleship on the Titan side survived. Under the indiscriminate bombardment of the Angel and Kamigawa fleets, the Titan battleships had no chance to enter the jump navigation and escape. Battlefield. The coalition forces then left a small portion of the fleet to clean the battlefield and collect the bodies of their fallen comrades, while the larger force continued to advance. Half a month later, a very special star system appeared on the reconnaissance star maps of Tianren and Zhenhe. This star system is much larger than the average star system. If I use a metaphor to describe it, it is probably the difference between a potato and a watermelon. There are a total of 8 companion planets in the star system, 3 of which are large terrestrial planets, several times larger than ordinary planetary objects. On the third largest terrestrial planet in the star system, the coalition forces detected dense life signals and traces of civilization. After comparing the coalition's database, it has been confirmed that there are a large number of Titan warriors on that planet. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 391. Staring at the huge Earth-like planet in the starry sky, Jingnan's eyes turned slightly and fell on the side face of the queen, who didn't know what she was thinking about. This is not the first time that a scene like this has appeared in Jingnan's memory. Whenever a major war is about to happen, the queen will come to a platform outside the Tianren alone, like today, quietly looking down at the starry sky ahead. However, based on Jingnan's understanding of his queen, the queen is definitely not simply admiring the starry sky in front of her. She must be thinking about things that ordinary angels like herself cannot understand. After Binghua stared at the starry sky for a while, he looked at his white and clean hand that didn't look like a warrior at all. He couldn't help but squeeze it hard. Feeling the pressure feedback from the palm of his hand, Binghua sighed softly. This was not enough. Binghua felt that he was not strong enough, especially in the next most critical battle. The thought of attacking the Titan Protoss home planet gave Binghua a trace of worry in his heart. So far, Binghua's wars with the Titans have all ended in victory, but only she, who has experienced it, knows how dangerous it is. Binghua, an ordinary Titan warrior, was not afraid, but facing the Titan Lord, Binghua felt a little unsure, because Binghua had only one experience of fighting alone with the Titan Lord, and he was seriously injured. Needless to mention, the second time, 3 angels with first-generation divine bodies surrounded him and successfully killed a Titan Lord. Although Binghua now has several more ways to deal with the Titan Lord God than some time ago, it is still unknown whether he can win without fighting. If he, as the top combat power of the Angel Legion, loses in the battle with the Titan Lord, the consequences will be disastrous, and the blow to morale will be secondary. The main reason is that there is no restriction of equal combat power, and the Titan Lord God will not be able to deal with it. For an ordinary angel warrior, it is no more difficult than squeezing an ant to death. Queen, what are you thinking about? Why does your face suddenly become ugly? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Hearing this, Binghua was stunned. She forgot that Jingnan was still around. She put away the worry on her face and showed a smile. It's okay, I'm just thinking about the next battle plan. Seeing that the queen was unwilling to say more, Jingnan did not continue to ask, so he changed the topic, but his voice was a little inexplicably low. Queen, do you think that after we angels fight this war, we won't have to fight any more in the future? Hearing this, Binghua looked at her face slightly, and what came into view was Jingnan with his head lowered. Binghua vaguely saw Jingnan's depressed face hidden in the hanging hair. Jingnan, why do you suddenly ask about this? This is not like you usually do. Queen, several good sisters I used to know died in the last battle. Like me, they are only over 800 years old. I didn't feel it when they were still alive. But now I feel very sad when I think of them. Even if I haven't seen them for decades, I wouldn't feel this way. Jingnan said, raising her hand to cover her heart, then she looked up at Binghua. Queen, do you know? They all admire you as much as I do. When we sisters used to talk, whenever we talked about you, they would cast envious glances at me. Because I am your assistant, they envy me that I can stay by your side and see the queen they admire every day. Jingnan put down the hand covering his heart and moved his gaze from Binghua to the starry sky ahead. Queen, you may not know that you are a legend in the eyes of us ordinary angels and the undefeated god of war of our angel civilization. We have always believed that the angel army will be invincible as long as it is under your leadership. So Queen, you must believe on. In addition, I really like a queen who is confident and invincible. Because of this, Queen, you will be full of your unique charm, and my sisters and I will worship you and be proud to follow you. After Jingnan said this, he left the platform. Binghua looked at her retreating back with a relieved smile on his lips. I didn't expect to be comforted by you in the end, but as I said, I have never been defeated by this king, and I will not lose this war either. The war against Titan's home star began. The Titans did not leave the planet to fight, but chose to hide in their home star. In order to reduce casualties, the coalition forces did not immediately rush outside the atmosphere of Titan's home star and conduct orbital airborne operations. Instead, they launched intensive fire bombings while they were still some distance away from Titan's home star in an attempt to destroy possible defenses on the planet's surface. But the result surprised the coalition forces. When they approached the atmosphere of Titan's home planet, all the energy attacks from the warships dissipated into particles under the interference of an inexplicable force field. For a time, most of the coalition's firepower advantage was eliminated, and they had no choice but to continue moving forward and approach Titan's home planet. As for why it is not used, the Star Destroyer strike is more powerful. The first is that the size of Titan's parent star is too huge, and coupled with the energy-inert force field spread outside the atmosphere, the effect of using extremely energy-consuming star-destroying strikes is no different from now. As a result, the on-site battle situation entered a very embarrassing situation, that is, the coalition forces had nothing to do against the Titans. As the most important planet of Titan, Titan's home planet is impregnable due to the construction of the Titan Protoss over the years. It is simply wishful thinking to destroy it remotely and can only be done in dreams. But how could the top leaders of the coalition forces, who finally led the coalition forces to the location of Titan's home star, be willing to stop there? Soon the landing battle was put on the agenda by Kamigawa, and the leader was Texas, the god of war in Kamigawa. Texas, we can wait a little longer and formulate a battle plan after we understand the composition of this inert energy field outside Titan's home planet. Then we can take advantage of the fleet's firepower and attack the Titans under the cover of orbital bombardment. I don't understand why you insist on launching an attack immediately. Faced with Binghua's doubts and objections, Texas' answer was simple. We Kamigawa can't wait any longer. Facing the firm attitude of her allies, Binghua felt extremely headache. According to her idea, she wanted to launch an attack under the cover of the firepower of the Sky Blade. But now, although Haihua was angry at Kamikawa's recklessness, he had to cooperate with Kamikawa's actions because Kamikawa needed the Angel's control over the airspace. The coalition forces, which completed orbital airborne preparations the next day, drove the warship outside the atmosphere of Titan's home planet. When the mighty fleet finally arrived outside the atmosphere of Titan's home planet, Binghua felt firsthand how huge this Earth-like planet was. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 393. In the past, the relatively large size of the Skyblade battleship was like a small celestial satellite when parked outside the planet's atmosphere. But now dozens of Skyblades and hundreds of warships belonging to Kamigawa are parked in the outer space of this huge planet that is suspected to be Titan's home star, but it does not seem crowded at all. The Tianren flagship where Binghua was located was temporarily used as the command center for Angel and Kamigawa. In a relatively empty hall specially set aside, a long table and several seats were already filled with Angels and Kamigawa. People. Among them, Binghua and Texas were on both sides of the long table. On both sides were the more famous high-ranking angels on the angel side and the generals of Kamigawa. However, the atmosphere in this hall was very serious now. Texas, now that the combined fleet has arrived in the outer space of Titan's home planet, how do you Kamigawa plan to launch an attack next? Binghua was sitting on the seat in an angel uniform at the moment. The indifferent look on her face made it impossible to see her specific inner activities. In addition, it may be due to the atmosphere of the scene. There was a faint pressure around her, which made it difficult for her to leave. The Kamigawa general who was so close didn't dare to take a breath. Texas on the other side was not affected by the atmosphere at all, and his voice was as usual, full of military iron-bloodedness and determination. Your Excellency Hiawa, our Kamigawa has discovered that the size of the planet below us is several times the size of an ordinary planet. Even if our troops are several times larger, we cannot launch a full-scale attack. However, our dark information scanning has already scanned the general environment and areas of the planet's surface. After Texas finished speaking, he gestured to General Kamigawa on one side. Soon, General Kamigawa connected to Kamigawa's database, and a projected terrain map appeared in the eyes of everyone present. On the blue topographic map that unfolded, the ground was rugged and full of rift valleys of different sizes. It was hard to believe that intelligent life would settle here in such an environment, but in fact it did exist. Large temple-like building complexes are located in this harsh terrain, and the larger ones are comparable in scale to the rolling mountains nearby. According to the projected architectural models, those buildings are more like castles and fortresses formed by multiple large buildings than temples. Texas pointed to a portion of the projected surface map and said, "This is part of the surface conditions of Titan's parent planet that we have discovered. These buildings located on the vast land are speculated to be the base stations that maintain the inert energy field in the outer space of the planet beneath our feet. Therefore, if we want to take advantage of the combined fleet's firepower advantage, we must destroy these base stations." Binghua's eyes swept across the projection and asked aloud, "If these buildings are really force field base stations established by the Titans, then they really need to be destroyed. I wonder if Kamigawa has any good ideas for this." Faced with Binghua's inquiry, Texas responded immediately, obviously having prepared a plan in advance. "We Kamigawa intend to send elite troops to orbit and airborne around these base stations and launch attacks to destroy them. But because the climate environment of this planet is extremely harsh, we are unable to detect too detailed conditions around these base stations, so we would like to ask angels to assist us and escort our orbital troops to ensure that we will not be threatened by the sky." Faced with Texas' request, Binghua did not refuse. The two sides were already allies, and angels were extremely good at air combat, so a mere escort was not a big deal. The subsequent meeting was for their high-ranking angels to discuss the details of this joint orbital airborne operation with the generals of Kamigawa. The main purpose was to allocate their respective responsibilities to avoid chaos. Binghua just sat in her seat and watched all of this quietly. In fact, when she was watching the projection of the planet's surface environment uploaded by Kamigawa just now, she noticed an extremely huge and eye-catching temple. But neither Binghua nor Texas proposed the idea of attacking the temple at that location, because the larger the target, the more proof that their defensive strength was definitely not weak. What is blocking the coalition's attack now is the inert energy field that spreads across the outer space of the planet. As long as this force field can be destroyed, under the huge fleet of the coalition, the Titan home planet will be a ball of mud that can be crushed at any time. The next day, after discussing the combat operations, the two sides began intensive preparations for combat and decided to launch an attack this morning. This time Kamigawa and the Angels are targeting thousands of base station temples located in the eastern hemisphere of Titan's home planet. Nearly 10 million Kamigawa troops and a large number of heavy weapons and super soldiers will be dispatched. When all the troops participating in the attack in Kamigawa boarded the combat ships and began to prepare for orbital airdrop, The vanguard troops of the Angels, the Combat Reconnaissance Unit, were planning to break into the atmosphere to check the situation and prepare for the upcoming Kamigawa attack. He was escorted by airborne troops. Angel Ran once again took over the command of the Skyblade fleet. As for Binghua, the Angel Queen, she was on the flagship. If we encountered any difficult enemies in the next war, it would be the turn of our extremely powerful queen to take action. Following the order from the Skyblade flagship, which had been dispersed and parked on the Skyblade over the eastern hemisphere of Titan's home star, an angel swooped down from the Skyblade towards the surface of the planet below. That layer of inert energy, which can interfere with the stability of most known energies, had little impact on the physical angel warriors. It was quickly passed through by the elite angel warriors and officially set foot on this Earth-like planet that was suspected of being the home star of Titan. At this moment, in the area where the God King's palace on Titan's home planet is located, as the two black and white gods guarding the Titan god's domain, the god of dark night, the elder brother, finally spoke out. The bastards of Kamigawa have passed through the barrier and invaded the divine domain. Brother, I leave the air to you. The white-armored god of light nodded, turned around neatly, and left the temple, preparing to lead his special forces to attack the winged men. Yinga, this is a very senior angel warrior, now one of the few high-level battle angels. This mission of breaking into the atmosphere of Titan's home star was originally supposed to be carried out by the second-generation angels, but Yinga, who had no combat missions for the time being, was finally captured by his immediate superior and placed into the team responsible for this war zone. Passing through the thick dark clouds, Yinga immediately felt the howling wind, accompanied by the opening of sand. Even before the mission, Yinga knew from the data that the planet's environment was extremely harsh, but she did not expect it to be so bad. Yinga led 10 combat teams to patrol the predetermined airspace and found no danger before reporting to the flagship. This is Angel Yinga. There are no hostile units in the air in the battle zone where I am, and there are no abnormalities. It's just that the wind is a bit strong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 394. When Yinga reported the situation to his subordinate Tianren, the sky that had darkened around him suddenly thundered, and then huge raindrops poured down. Under the influence of the strong wind, they were like fingernail-sized droplets. The stones struck the helmets of the angels. Yinga, who was flying at high speed, quickly pulled down the visor of his helmet and stared at the surrounding environment where visibility was still declining, frowning slightly. Sister Ying, the weather is so strange. Why did the weather suddenly change? A female angel traveling with her said casually in the communication, and other angels also echoed her, without any seriousness during wartime. In fact, the super soldier's brain has extremely strong information processing capabilities, and it is not a problem to communicate in the communication while inspecting the surrounding situation. However, as the commander of these 10 teams, Yinga did not think so. Even before departure, Tianren had already given information about the extremely drastic climate changes of this huge Earth-like planet, but this was too abnormal. Even though she felt abnormal in her heart, Yinga could not suggest to Tianren to stop this large-scale operation. She could only try her best to fulfill her accusation and eliminate potential dangers in this area. Sisters, don't think too much. Complete the cruise in this area as soon as possible. It will be time for the Kamigawa civilization to deploy ground troops. After saying these words, Yinga looked through the extremely low visibility environment to the giant temple complex below in the wind and rain. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Yinga always felt that the temple seemed to be lying on its back. The ferocious beast was staring at them there. Outside the atmosphere of the Titan home star, after receiving the news from the Skyblade, The Kamigawa battleships following the Skyblade immediately launched a large number of heavy airdrop pods hanging below the ship towards the surface of the Titan home star. These large airdrop silos, ranging from several meters to more than 10 meters, contain various heavy equipment and powerful weapons of the Kamigawa ground army, and are specially prepared to fight against the super-large Titans. Because of the energy inert force field, these airdrop pods will rely on inertia to pass through this force field, and then start the built-in engine to reduce their own kinetic energy, and finally achieve a safe landing. During this period, these airdrop pods have no counter-attack ability. So a large number of elite Angel legions landed with these airborne pods. Angel Ruyun is a very famous figure among the female angels, because she is the captain of the Holy Left Wing's Royal Heavenly Blade, and she also has good commanding skills. In this coordinated battle between angels and Kamigawa, Ruyun was assigned a job by the Holy Left Wing Hyuka because of his commanding ability, responsible for a vast area with 10 landing points. Because all the news from the start of the operation until now was good news, Ruyun was in a pretty good mood. He picked up the special product passed from Kamigawa in front of him, a product called "Take a Sip of the Tea Drink." What's going on now? Sister Yun, everything is normal in the airspace. Kamigawa's orbital airborne troops are on their way to land and are expected to arrive on the surface in 2 minutes to launch an attack. Ruyun nodded. As long as nothing happened, it would be really bad if something happened. But reality often takes pleasure in being slapped in the face. Just when the above thoughts appeared in Ruyun's mind, the shocked voice of the female angel under his command suddenly reached his ears. Sister Yun. Oops. A large number of giant life responses have been detected and are rapidly approaching the Kamigawa airborne troops. It is expected that the two sides will contact in the air in 20 seconds. Ruyun immediately stopped thinking about drinking tea. He put down the white porcelain cup in his hand, immediately stood up and walked behind the reporting angel, looking at the projection light screen in front of her. I saw a dozen huge red dots suddenly appearing on the side that represented my own logo in the projection, moving towards the location of my own angel at an extremely fast speed. What's going on? Didn't you just say that everything was normal? Why did so many large-scale life reactions suddenly appear? I don't know either, Sister Yun. They seem to have appeared out of thin air. Tianren didn't detect their existence at all just now. The voice of the female angel who spoke was stumbling nervously. At the same time, she began to zoom in on the detection interface, trying to rely on the dark information scan of the Skyblade to project the scene on the screen. However, the thunderstorm weather at the scene greatly hindered this work. Interference. The Angel team below, which was cruising in the combat area of Titan's home star, naturally received the news from the Skyblade. The cruising Angel warriors were not afraid. Instead, they turned around and headed towards the area where the enemy was coming. Behind these Angel warriors, countless airdrop pods spitting out fire were falling towards the ground. The Angel warrior flying towards the direction of the enemy's attack finally saw the enemy clearly after a few seconds. It was a Titan warrior riding on a giant flying bird. Their whole bodies were covered in heavy black armor, even the giant bird on their crotch was no exception. They completely blended into the surrounding dim thunderstorm weather and were extremely difficult to detect. Just as the leading Angel captain was about to issue a warning, he heard the roar of thunder, and dense golden lightning struck in an instant, covering the entire space dozens of meters around. This combat team, numbering more than 50, was caught off guard by the Titan's sudden attack and suffered heavy losses. The surviving Angels' eyes turned red when they saw this. After a few swear words, several of them raised their flaming swords and rushed towards the Titans. The next moment, orange flame sword energy suddenly appeared in the thunderstorm and bursting golden lightning intertwined in the air, accompanied by a deafening scream. Tens of seconds later, a dozen huge figures rushed out of the battlefield and rushed towards Kamigawa's airborne troops. On the Skyblade far outside the atmosphere, Ryun could not help but clenched his upper and lower teeth together as he looked at the projection screen that represented most of the life signals of his own angels that had disappeared. I didn't expect these titans to pull such dirty tricks. But don't think you can succeed so easily. Notify the high-level angels left behind to attack, telling them that the target is those flying titan warriors, and they must be eradicated. Ryun's tone was cold when she said the last words, because this was a task assigned by the queen, and she would never let the task fail. The situation that occurred in the war zone that Ryun was responsible for also appeared in other war zones. A large number of Titan warriors riding flying behemoths suddenly rushed out, causing huge casualties to the cruising angels. The worst thing among them was the airborne Kamigawa troops. A large number of airborne pods were destroyed by these Titan warriors riding giant birds on their crotches. Regional angel commanders such as Angel Ryun were even criticized by Kamigawa allies, asking how the angels' investigation work was done and why such a situation still occurred. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 395. Faced with the accusations from Kamigawa, the Skyblade captain and the regional angel in charge on the angel side were holding fire in their hearts, but they could not vent it because the real situation was indeed the negligence of the angel investigation team, which resulted in major losses for both parties. Loss. However, not all areas were in a critical situation. The Titan air cavalry attacking in several areas were blocked by the high-ranking angels teams, and Kamigawa's airdrop troops landed safely. This was the case in the airspace where Yinga was located. As a third-generation warrior, she was keenly aware of the power of those Titan air cavalry when she encountered the enemy. She decisively asked her angel team to perform flame bombing, catching the opponent off guard, and then executed the segmentation tactic divided the Titans' charge formation. Although they could not take down the opponent for a while, there was no problem in temporarily dragging the Titans in the current airspace. Among them, Yinga, a high-ranking angel, played a huge role. She used her strong strength and the cooperation of her companions to efficiently hunt down the Titan air cavalry who bypassed them and tried to attack the Kamigawa airdrop force. Rumbling sounds were heard one after another, and hexagonal blue-painted airdrop pods that were narrow at the top and wide at the bottom hit the ground. With the sound of the airtight door opening, the thick hatch opened outwards. I saw a tall figure wrapped in heavy black armor, holding a special large firearm, and carrying a metal backpack with several jet ports stepping out of the open hatch. Slowly exhaling a breath and observing the slightly dim environment and complex terrain around her through her goggles, Carmen's heart sank. Captain Carmen. The battle group has successfully logged in. There should be 1,350 people, but the actual number is 1,280. Carmen glanced at the familiar name displayed on the communication channel under the goggles, stepped forward, and said in a deep voice, "Have all chapter members assemble to my area. How about the loss of heavy equipment? Regiment Commander, nearly 1/5 of the equipment has been damaged. It is currently being assembled and is expected to be ready for battle in 5 minutes. That's good. Tell the brothers not to get too close. I don't want those stupid guys to kick me down and I'll have to write off a whole team." After hanging up the communication with her deputy, Carmen raised her head and glanced at the sky above her head, which occasionally shone with orange flames, and said softly, "We Kamigawa will not lose to you angels." The large airdrop compartment, which was nearly 10 meters long and wide, began to unfold, revealing a mass of large machinery curled together inside. A Kamigawa warrior wearing heavy armor kicked the big guy in front of him and cursed rudely in the communication. "Get up and work for me. How long are you going to sleep for? I'm warning you not to be so irritable. If you kick my big baby and break it, I will make you walk around without food." A cursing voice came from the communication of the mechanical creation in front of him. The next moment, the curled-up mechanical creation was seen with lights indicating that the engine was starting. The thick mechanical legs that were originally curled up at the side began to unfold in all directions, and then fell to the ground with a muffled sound. Seeing this scene, several Kamigawa warriors gathered around quickly stepped back to make room, only to hear the sound of mechanical operation, and the thick mechanical legs held up the thick main part in the middle. The parts above and on the sides of the propped-up main body began to expand outwards and flip over. Finally, two honeycomb-shaped cylindrical devices and a double-mounted turret appeared on both sides and above it. After a slight adjustment of the direction, this Gundam, the behemoth of more than 10 meters, started to move forward with its heavy mechanical legs, and the speed was not slow. The Kamigawa S-13 Small Mobile Fortress is a more flexible battlefield support heavy unit developed by Kamigawa after the outbreak of the physical war to fight against the animal civilization. In order to fight against the Titans, the Kamigawa landing force was equipped with many such units this time. Big Guy, to make up for the lack of firepower of the ground troops. And before supporting the Red Star Ring, in order to deal with the powerful defense and size of the Titans, Kamigawa modified some S-13 weapons and replaced them with more powerful and concentrated high-energy ammunition. The surrounding Kamigawa warriors who were carrying and gathering heavy equipment heard a burst of wild laughter coming from the advancing S-13. "Brothers below, let my cute big baby protect you and beat the butts of those big stupid guys. Ha ha." Vulgar words and laughter did not annoy the Kamigawa warriors present. Rather, on the cruel battlefield, swearing and teasing their colleagues were the only fun they could find. Just when these Kamigawa warriors scattered in the surrounding area of nearly a kilometer began to gather towards Carmen's location, a dull explosion suddenly came from the sky with lightning and thunder, and the emerging light even made the Kamigawa on the earth. The soldiers couldn't help but be attracted to their attention, because there were two huge black shadows burning with traces of fire falling from the sky to the ground, smashing a small upturned mountain peak. This is not the end yet. From time to time, huge black shadows will fall from the sky, and at the same time, there will also be female angels who are their allies. Carmen just watched the scene silently. They had no way to intervene in the battle that took place at high altitude, so they could only trust the angels who were their allies. During the gathering of the battle group, Carmen contacted the battleships belonging to the battle group and learned the general situation of the battlefield at this moment. The landing Kamigawa troops and the escorting angels suffered heavy losses due to the sudden attack of the Titan air cavalry. Only a few lucky Kamigawa troops were able to land safely on the ground as an organic whole. The battle group led by Carmen lost less than 100 people, so it was undoubtedly extremely lucky. Exist. Putting away his thoughts, Carmen glanced at the group members who had gathered around him, and then turned his sights to the majestic and complex temple thousands of meters away. Without any further words, he directly ordered in the communication. All members of the battle group obey the order and move towards the goal. Not to mention the troops dropped by Shenhe on the ground, the battle in the sky was extremely dangerous. Yinga used the continuous ejection of the judgment gun box and the lethality of the judgment gun itself to seriously injure a Titan air cavalry. But even though he was seriously injured by the explosion, this Titan air cavalry did not lose his combat ability. The black heavy armor on his body helped him withstand a lot of damage. Coupled with his strong physical fitness as a high-ranking Titan, his combat effectiveness was still good. Golden thunder surged on the weapon in the hand of this Titan warrior with broken armor. As he swung it forcefully, a vertical chain of golden lightning shot out. An angel warrior who had just come here in a roundabout way to attract the attention of the Titan air cavalry saw the lightning coming and quickly ducked to one side. However, the speed of the lightning was too fast, and the scope of the impact was also quite huge, so he was enveloped on the spot. In it. Seeing this scene, even Yinga, who had a gentler personality, couldn't help but grit her teeth and stared at the Titan air cavalry with burning eyes. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 396. When other Titan air cavalry saw that their colleagues were separated by the wingmen and seriously injured by powerful individuals among the wingmen, They quickly drove the thunder-breathing beasts under them and rushed in the direction of their colleagues, but they soon encountered obstacles. The other angel warriors who were responsible for containing the Titan air cavalry immediately caught up with them, throwing their flaming sword energy at these Titans as if they were free. Even though he was wearing extremely thick armor, he could not sustain it for long under the erosion of the dense flame sword energy. There were eroding sword marks of varying depths on the armor. Yinga has no time to pay attention to the Titan air cavalry in other positions. Her current target is only the seriously injured Titan air cavalry in front of her. A faint halo representing dark energy appeared on the judgment gun case at the waist. Several silver judgment guns were stored in it. The patterns on the handles of the guns were burning brightly, as if they were about to explode in the next moment. As time passed, the energy of the Spear of Judgment was fully charged, and Yinga immediately ordered the angels harassing the injured Titan air cavalry to retreat. When the Titan air cavalry saw that the wingmen who had been harassing them all dispersed backwards, they immediately raised their giant soldiers and took the opportunity to accumulate golden thunder. I plan to wait for the winged people to rush over again, and give them a lightning bath to let them know how powerful the Titans are. But this Titan Protoss had no chance. In his line of sight, several tiny red lights shot out from behind the powerful winged man who had previously severely injured him towards his location, followed by severe pain and surges. The flames struck at the same time. 4 violent explosions appeared almost at the same time, and the strong orange-red fire clouds they raised swallowed up the Titan air cavalry. After that, a huge figure burning with flames was seen falling to the ground. The giant beast it was riding was no exception, whining and falling to the ground together with its owner. The Kamigawa warriors below who were heading towards the Titan temple were no longer surprised by the Titans falling from time to time above their heads. At this moment, they only had the target they needed to attack in their eyes. With the assistance of powerful exoskeleton power armor, it took less than half an hour for the battle group led by Carmen to cross thousands of meters of complex terrain and reach the outskirts of the huge gray-black temple that was nearly a kilometer high. Just when they wanted to continue moving forward, a blurry black shadow covered an area in the team at some point. The next moment they heard a huge boom, and a huge figure tens of meters high fell from the sky, causing a huge the air wave shook several Kamigawa warriors around them off the ground, and they fell to the ground on their backs. Carmen put down the arm that he had subconsciously raised to cover his face, and immediately saw clearly through the goggles the culprit who attacked his battle group. A high-ranking Titan wearing full coverage gold armor, with only part of his face exposed, and over 50 meters tall appeared in the advancing Kamigawa team. Carmen immediately shouted in the communication, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" The high-ranking Titan who jumped into the Kamigawa troops looked at the ant-like Kamigawa warriors at his feet with disdain. He raised the golden thunder in his right palm and danced on it, and then swung it in front of him. The thunder that was still dancing in the palm of this Titan now became like a long whip sweeping across a large area in front of him. Several Kamigawa warriors who had just stood up from the ground were immediately swept away, and were instantly enveloped by the leaping golden thunder. Their bodies shook violently, and bursts of sparks erupted from their armor. Finally, they fell to the ground covered in charred black. There is a faint smoke. Carmen cursed when she saw this scene, raised the huge gun in her hand and pulled the trigger hard towards the huge figure with golden thunder leaping around it from time to time. As the deafening gunfire sounded, orange fire chains shot from the surrounding ground towards the high-ranking Titan. The golden armored Titan, who was preparing for the next attack, suddenly experienced micro-explosions all over the armor. Countless small holes appeared on the originally smooth golden armor. Damn! It's so damn hard. Keep up the firepower output. If you guys want to survive, please retreat and stay away from that big guy. Carmen shouted while pulling the trigger, pouring bullets towards the golden armored Titan hiding its face. If you slow down time at this moment, you can find that the bullets fired from the guns in the hands of the Kamigawa warriors present are different from ordinary bullets. Each of these bullets is as thick as a thumb, and its tail is like a miniature rocket spraying orange flames. When the warhead hits the surface of the Titan's armor and is deformed by the impact, it will explode on the spot, and the blue energy will bloom. The nearby Titan armor eroded a dent the size of a wash basin. But because of the huge size of the Titans and the amazing thickness of the armor they wear, it seems to have little effect. But this is already much stronger than the weapons that could only be used to polish the Titan's armor. The high-ranking Titan who broke into the Kamigawa battle group alone felt a little regretful at this moment. He covered his face with his left hand, and the golden thunder on the giant soldier held in his right hand began to surge. He raised it and swept it towards the ground in front of him. Under the explosive thunder and the huge power of the Titans, the ground was instantly cut open by the tip of the blade, setting off a wave of earth composed of huge rocks and soil. After doing all this, the golden armored Titan raised his weapon and shouted in a language that the Kamigawa warriors present could not understand. A few seconds later, a dozen Titan warriors wearing silver armor and standing between 40 and 50 meters tall, holding spears, rushed out of the temple and strode towards the battlefield. Seeing this, Carmen cursed angrily, opened the communication and yelled at his deputy. "Are you really a turtle? I'm already on fire with those big guys, why haven't you arrived yet?" The deputy of the other battle group who received the communication did not speak. He waited until Carmen finished scolding him before he explained. "Captain, we are already here. Right behind you." Listening to the words coming from the communication, Carmen looked back and saw several machines with a height of more than 10 meters, supported by thick mechanical legs, quickly rushing towards the battlefield. They were none other than the small mobile fortress S-13. Among the S-13s arriving, the twin turrets above one of them began to flash with a bright blue light. The next moment, two thick blue beams shot out from the raised muzzles, spanning a distance of several hundred meters. It hit the golden armored Titan. A large hole several meters wide was directly blown out of the armor of this previously flamboyant golden armored Titan, and a huge black wound appeared on the chest inside. Under the sudden heavy blow, even with the physical strength of a superior Titan, he couldn't help being knocked back a few steps and half kneeling on the ground, opening his mouth and spitting out a large pool of hot blood. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 397. Seeing this, Carmen stopped urging the heavy firepower unit led by his deputy at the other end of the communication. He let out a sigh and continued to pour firepower towards the golden armored Titan. Under the influence of the constantly moving thick mechanical legs, the S-13 small mobile fortress quickly approached the battlefield. The two-unit turret above its head spit out a dazzling blue beam of light, bombarding the Titan warriors rushing out of the temple. Rumbling explosions sounded one after another, and among the dozen or so silver-armored Titans that rushed towards them, dazzling blue energy balls suddenly rose up from the bodies of several of them. The slightly injured Titan warriors roared in pain and continued to charge, while the injured silver-armored Titans fell to the ground. A huge and hideous wound appeared where they were hit by the S-13 main gun. Seeing this scene, the Kamigawa warriors present were heartened, and their morale, which had been lowered by the encounter with the giant Titans, began to recover. An invincible enemy is despairing and frightening, but as long as you find that this enemy can be wounded and possibly killed, the hope of victory will arise in your heart. Ants. The golden armored Titan clutching his chest roared and stood up. The giant soldier supporting his body was raised, and the golden thunder began to stir, emitting bursts of dull thunder. As the giant soldier in the Titan's hand fell down, the golden thunder rushed towards the mobile fortress 100 meters away like a roaring thunder dragon. In the eyes of the Titans, the golden thunder can only be called electric arc, but in the eyes of the Kamigawa warriors, it is real lightning and thunder. The S-13 mobile fortress's huge size of more than 10 meters brought it powerful firepower, but it also limited its movement speed. It was unable to avoid the incoming golden thunder. It was smashed to pieces, and dense cracks appeared on the outer armor of the machine. The arc of electricity paralyzed him in place. The driver inside swore and immediately started to restart the engine to perform system self-check and repair. It took a few seconds for the S-13 to complete the restart. In order to counteract the Titan Protoss' unique method of controlling thunder, Kamigawa's weapon developers have already carried out special treatment on various large-scale vehicles and equipment. The coating to isolate the thunder is only secondary, and the internal structure has also been added. The structure to prevent short circuits can be used to replace part of the system with a backup system to continue operations. Therefore, as long as it is not a super-standard thunder attack, S-13 is enough to loudly say to the Titans that you are all rubbish. As several S-13 mobile fortresses and heavy weapons troops led by the group's deputies join the battlefield, the ground troops on the Kamigawa side actually slightly suppressed the Titan Protoss side. Of course, the number ratio between the two sides was very different, reaching an astonishing 1,200 to 15. Outside the atmosphere of Titan's home star, the Skyblade flagship, Binghua looked at the dozens of projection light screens appearing in the void in front of him, and his beautiful eyebrows were tightly knitted because the landing operation was not going smoothly. Among the more than 300 landing points all over Titan's home planet, only nearly half of the landing points at Kamigawa successfully landed. The orbital airdrop troops and reconnaissance angel troops at the remaining landing points at Kamigawa were completely annihilated. The culprit responsible for all this, Ran, who is responsible for fleet dispatch and command, has already reported that he is a special force composed of high-ranking Titans riding flying behemoths. The identification code is tentatively designated as the Titan Air Cavalry. As the battle progressed, Hyuka gradually discovered the intentions of the Titans. They seemed to intend to use the inert energy field on the outer layer of the planet beneath their feet to engage in a war of attrition against Kamigawa and the Angels. Although I don't understand what the purpose of the King of the Titan Protoss is, now Binghua really can't think of any other solution besides using refueling tactics. But a meaningless war of attrition is not what Binghua wants. In terms of individual combat capabilities, Angel and Kamigawa are not superior. Even if the Titans are eventually wiped out, Kamikawa and Angel will suffer heavy casualties. Not to mention the overwhelming number of people in Kamigawa, the Angel civilization absolutely cannot engage in a war of attrition. In this way, a large number of Angel warriors will be buried in the meat grinder of the battlefield. If the Angel's vitality is damaged in this battle, then the Angel will lose the ability to resist other enemies in the universe, not to mention the triangular creatures that are gradually expanding in the direction of the Angel Nebula, the Chaos virus that has recently begun to appear, and the Chaos virus that comes from nowhere. The Eternal Sublimator is enough to give the angelic civilization a headache. Just when Binghua was thinking about how to break the situation, a communication request was suddenly sent from Kamigawa. After seeing the image displayed on the other end of the communication clearly, Binghua said in surprise, "Texas, what are you going to do?" Texas at the other end was fully armed at the moment. His body was protected by heavy black armor. Behind him was a single-edged battle axe. As he moved, the armor parts rubbed against each other and made crisp sounds. "Your Excellency Binghua, as you can see, our intention to land has been known to the enemy for a long time, and they have ambushed heavy troops where we may land. As the god of war in Kamigawa, I can't just watch my soldiers jump into the trap, so I plan to personally lead the team to carry out the task of destroying the temple." Binghua felt that Texas was too reckless and said, "Texas, the Titan gods haven't appeared yet. It's too dangerous for you to step into the Titan home planet alone." Texas gave Binghua a confident smile. "As a soldier of Kamigawa, if I shrink back because of danger, I wouldn't be called a god of war. Your Excellency Binghua, after I leave, I will ask you angels to take care of the fleet. Seeing Texas' insistence, Binghua did not try to persuade him anymore, and then the communication was hung up by Kamigawa. For Kamigawa's side to throw the god of war into the battlefield so quickly, Binghua felt that it was too hasty, but suddenly he thought about it and realized that this was not entirely a bad thing. He called Jingnan Binghua and gave instructions. Jingnan, go and tell Liang Bing that you can enter the battlefield. Kamigawa did not send out all the war gods this time. Only Texas, Diliang, and Lin Yuan were dispatched. They were all war gods who were good at melee attacks. Under the attack of the super warrior troops led by the three war gods, the Titans' defenders, who originally had the advantage, began to gradually fall into a disadvantage. In the 6th hour from the start of the landing war, the first Titan temple was captured by the legion led by Texas, and the high-ranking Titan responsible for guarding the temple died under its battle axe. Then good news came from Dilian and Lin Yuan. They each captured 2 Titan temples. The enemy's high-ranking Titans responsible for guarding the temples were no match for them. Compared with the results achieved by the battle god, the attack by ordinary Kamigawa troops was extremely difficult. As a veteran battle leader, the battle group led by Carmen finally eliminated a high-ranking Titan and a dozen Titan warriors after suffering more than 200 casualties, and led the warriors into the giant temple. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 398. In order to match the living habits of the Titans, the huge temple has a height of more than 300 meters at the main entrance, and the steps in front of the door are 3 to 4 meters apart. Fortunately, Carmen's battle group is an elite one. All equipped with special power armor, which can flow temporarily, otherwise they may not be able to cross the steps in front of the temple. Once entering the temple, the space became slightly smaller than the vast outside world, but it still allowed Carmen to place his troops around to form a sufficient firepower network. Shortly after entering the temple, heavy footsteps sounded from the darkness ahead. A group of Titan warriors rushed out from several passages in the temple hall. Holding giant soldiers, they roared and stepped into the battle group led by Carmen in a few steps. For a moment, guns and cannons fired together, and accompanied by bursts of dull loud noises, each Kamigawa warrior who was unable to dodge was smashed into a pulp or swept away by the giant soldiers chopped down by the Titans. There were also Titan warriors who were hit by beams fired from the S-13's twin-ion cannons during a chaotic battle, and suffered huge hideous wounds on their bodies. From time to time, a Titan warrior would fall in the S-13's main gun bombardment and rain of bullets, but it was the Kamigawa warriors who suffered more casualties, because the Titan warriors' attack could easily smash them into pies together with their armor. As the battle situation escalated, high-ranking Titans also appeared in the battle. They were able to control the thunder and were a powerful weapon on the battlefield in the relatively small temple. They could use the thunder to chop down a large area. As the casualties of the battle group increased, the originally powerful firepower also began to weaken. The huge S-13 mobile fortress was like a child, easily kicked to the ground by the Titan warriors who rushed forward, and then slashed at S-13 with a knife. On the mechanical legs. Under the huge kinetic energy blow, part of the structure of the mechanical leg was directly smashed and slightly deformed. Just as the Titan warrior was about to remove the big metal lump in front of him that injured several of his colleagues, dazzling red beams came from the cylinders on both sides of S-13. Shot out of the device. The Titan warrior felt a sharp pain in his chest, and his chest armor was directly cut by the beam with a long red mark that seemed to melt away in the next moment. The Kamigawa soldier driving the S-13 turned the turret towards the Titan warriors, and cursed loudly in the cockpit, "Me! You idiot!" Boom! The dazzling blue energy spread, blasting a huge hole in the Titan warrior's chest. Part of his internal organs were directly evaporated by the high temperature, leaving only a hideous wound with bloody flesh. The Titan warrior was so badly injured that he could no longer stand and fell backwards to the ground with a muffled thud. Seeing this, the other Titan warriors understood that now was not the time to tangle with the Kamigawa soldiers at their feet, so they ignored them and headed towards the direction of S-13. Carmen was silent as she looked at the members of her battle group who were slaughtered by the Titans and the S-13 mobile fortress that was constantly being destroyed. If Carmen was still on the battleship at this moment, he would definitely slap the people in the equipment department, because the conventional weapons they equipped were basically unable to cause fatal damage to the Titans. The burning wreckage of the mobile fortress made Carmen's helmet gleaming, and the gun in his hand kept spitting out bullets. The originally dense gunfire around him was now much sparser. Until a shadow enveloped the area where Carmen was, it was a big foot several meters long and wide. As it stepped heavily, the gunfire in the area suddenly stopped. The battle to land on Titan's home planet has been going on for several days. Kamigawa and Angel have continued to invest their troops, hoping to destroy a large number of temples on the planet's surface and break the inert energy field that envelops the planet. But the cruel reality made Kamigawa and Angel understand that the strength of the grassroots fighters on both sides was not equal. Except for Kamigawa's troops led by the God of War, almost all the battle groups and troops responsible for attacking the temple ended in failure. In order to defend the airspace above the Kamigawa troops, the Angels continued to fight with the Titan air cavalry. A large number of elite soldiers died, which made Binghua, the military commander, extremely distressed. These are the cornerstones of the future of Angel civilization. It was not until the 15th day of the landing battle that the battle situation finally changed, and the Titan Lord and Titan God began to appear on the battlefield. The troops of Delian and Linyuan suffered heavy losses. Only Texas achieved victory and killed a Titan God with an axe. But not long after, Texas also suffered a defeat. Under the siege of the Titan Master God and the Titan God, even the God of War Kamigawa was defeated by the fact that he was unable to defeat four hands with two fists. The super warrior army he led even more it was hit hard. Kamigawa's defeat is not meaningless. At least they have figured out the location and general strength of each Titan Lord. There are currently 3 Titan gods whose locations are known. One is the God of Thunder who once fought against Binghua. The other 2 are wearing one black and one white armor. According to the information obtained from the animal civilization, they should be guarding the whole time. The twin gods of the Titans in the Titan realm. Although he is called the God of Darkness and Light by the Beast Body civilization, according to the image data, the God of Darkness who leads the Titan air cavalry cannot control darkness. He can only use special means to quickly create dark clouds to block the light. As for the Titan's God of Light, when he fought against the Sun War God Delian, his attack method was to apply huge energy to his hands, and its external manifestation was a dazzling white light. After Binghua obtained the battle data of these Titan lords, he did not immediately bring Kamigawa and the Angel God of War together to find trouble with the Titan lords. Instead, he used these data to calculate the god-killing combat plan in his mind through the Skyblade. Feasibility. The feasibility of several Skyblade warships working together to calculate a project is very fast, and there is no shortage of battle data about the Titan Lord. Shortly after the defeated Texas led his legion to retreat to the Titan temple that he captured, the communication request from the main ship was transferred. After discovering that it was Astrid's communication, Texas did not connect it immediately. Instead, he waited until he handed over the injured soldier he was supporting to his subordinates, and then found a relatively remote corner to connect the communication. After listening to what Astrid said, Texas didn't speak for a long time. Astrid said there was news from the Angels, saying that they had formulated a more detailed god-killing operation and asked Kamigawa to the battle god cooperates. Texas did not reply to Astrid immediately. Instead, he sat there and began to think. At the same time, his eyes glanced at a seriously injured super soldier not far away. Those were all warriors who survived the attack by the Titan Lord and Titan God. Because of their strong physical fitness, they did not die on the spot, but they lost their fighting ability and were rescued from the battlefield by their companions. The reason Texas couldn't make an immediate decision was because of the warriors who followed him. If he makes even the slightest mistake in his decision-making, all the soldiers here who trust him will be ruined.